All right, let me just start by saying I have no attachment to Wicked. I've never seen the show. I really didn't even know that it existed in this large pop cultural way that it does. I going into this movie, hearing about the seeing the trailers, all these months ago, I was like, is anyone gonna see this? Who does anyone actually care about a Wizard of Oz prequel? Like, I've heard of this, but is it important to people? Okay, turns out yes, it's very important. I did not know this, and I do apologize. In terms of reviewing the movie, I think this movie is solid. I do. This is just, it's not entirely for me, obviously, because I don't have a connection to Wicked. I never did, and I probably never will. That being said, let me go through one by one kind of here. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande. I think they're both fantastic in this movie. I think they are really holding this up from being what could potentially be a disaster, in my opinion, especially Ariana Grande. I think Cynthia Erivo is really doing a good job of playing this character to my knowledge, at least, correctly, I guess is the word to say. And Ariana Grande is absolutely perfectly cast for this role. It's clear she cares about this character, and it's clear that she loves it too. That being said, the songs, the singing, I thought were all fine. I have an issue, like many do today with today's blockbusters. I don't think this movie looks particularly great. I know there's a ton of real sets in this movie, but when they are overlaid with the CGI kind of washed out bright colors, I don't think it looks that good. You know, especially comparing to The Wizard of Oz, which right after I watched Wicked, we watched The Wizard of Oz at home, and boy, the difference in attention to detail and style and bright colors is mind-blowing. If you watch The Wizard of Oz, there is just no kind of like washing out of the bright backgrounds and the bright sets and the clothes that people are wearing. Like even this shot right here in the trailer, go back. This shot right here in the trailer of kind of the gray a mixture of the gray bright colors that are, I'm pointing at the screen like you can see, the gray bright colors that are going on in the background of the Emerald City. Like, I think it looks bad. It's a problem with all of these modern blockbusters that these things just don't look real. They take me out of the movie, and I'm not the only one complaining about this either. I think it's a real issue that a movie that has a kind of a color palette and so much to go off of creates this CGI mess so many times that it really takes away from the fantastic singing and the fantastic acting that's going on by our two leads in particular. And I will go to the supporting characters now. Michelle Yeoh, I think, is probably the worst here in this movie, which is unfortunate. I think she's totally fine, but she's, she has one song that she kind of sings her way through. She's just not, she's not a singer, so that's fine, I guess. Jeff Goldblum's song is like a total disaster, in my opinion. I think he sounds ridiculous. He's not a singer. I didn't find his scene very entertaining. And it's another one of those, I guess, somewhat spoilers, although you've definitely seen this movie by now, I'm sure. Did we really have to have a scene where we find out that Glenda picked the color of the brick road? Is that necessary? Because that is so modern day blockbuster prequel thing where everything has to have an origin story, and it's just created there for you to be like, oh, look at that, the yellow brick road, like I know what that is. Like, that bothers me. That really does bother me. Other than that, other than me complaining about how it looks, which I do think is distracting, the animal subplot is, I think it's pretty well done, outside of the fact that I think the animals just don't look good. Peter Dinklage has a fantastic voice, and using him as a voiceover character makes sense. But I think the goat that he plays just kind of like isn't that convincing. It pulls you really right out of the movie, I think, where it's just like you can tell that whoever is that Cynthia Erivo is talking to either a tennis ball, or someone in like a blue suit that will just get totally replaced. So I don't think that part is very convincing. This movie is pretty long, but it had its moments where I was like, oh, this thing is flowing pretty good. And it was a while before I noticed kind of how long this movie went. But then there are also parts within it, specifically, I think the scene at the dance club. I guess I'll call it a dance club. I thought that dragged on for a long time, and then when you get to the end of when you get to Defying Gravity, the peak song of this movie, it's just barreled down in CGI action, and like I'm like, are we watching like a Marvel movie? Why does the third act of this movie have to have this big CGI kind of quote unquote battle? She's mainly like running away from the action, but there's like CGI explosions and sets that aren't there, and there's clear blue screen and stuff. Like there's just a lack of real bright colors even on the real sets, that are either just non-existent or just get drowned out by the amount of CGI that just isn't really up to par with what I would expect from like a $250 million budget blockbuster like this. So that left me pretty disappointed. But overall, I definitely just made it sound like I didn't like this movie. I did like this movie. I think the acting is pretty good. Ariana Grande is almost certainly going to get a nomination for this. Cynthia Erivo is definitely in the running. This will get a Best Picture nomination. I do kind of hope that John M. Chu misses out on Best Director, because I think there's way better directed movies this year. So it will be interesting to see if this thing kind of sweeps nominations and doesn't win any. I got to assume this is going to win for costumes at least, right? Or production design, whatever, even though I think the production design is severely average. But overall, this is a good movie. I don't even know if I need to recommend people see it, because you're either seeing this or you're not already by at this point, I would say. So I do look forward to part 2, which apparently is coming out next year. Yes, it is annoying that a musical that is apparently like 2.5 hours normally requires a part 2 from a movie where part 1 was over 2 hours and 45 minutes, but okay, sure. I'm not really sure what they added. They didn't add any songs, it seems like, to my knowledge, so I'm not sure what took so long for this movie to get from start to finish, but so be it. I enjoyed this overall. This is like a 3 out of 5, where I can appreciate the acting. I think the performances and the songs are pretty well done, but the blockbustery type of thing that has me, tired on Marvel movies right now, basically, and tired on the superhero blockbusters that cost $200 million, where I just think, why are all the colors grayed out or flushed out or something like that? It's kind of hard to describe, but if you've noticed it, I think you understand my frustration with it, basically. But overall, this thing's going to crush at the box office. I think it's going to be well on its way to $1 billion. I think the only thing stopping it is the fact that it has a long run time and that's only a part 1. So maybe it'll finish around the 800 million mark, maybe 900, and then $1 billion is probably if they're lucky. They need those repeat viewings, and we'll see if they get that or not. But overall, pretty good movie. I enjoyed myself. I'm a sucker for a musical, truly, I am. Things like West Side Story, I absolutely love, but West Side Story is, top tier. But I'm always down for a musical if the songs are catchy and if the singing and acting is good, and I do think the acting is good, but it is marred by some CGI nonsense that's going on, and that's a bummer to me sometimes. But overall, I enjoyed myself. I think it's a pretty good movie. Definitely look forward to my Wicked Part 2 review coming out next year, so bookmark your date for that. And be on the lookout for other things going on this channel, so make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.